Hello, and welcome to our platform. We're about to embark on an intriguing journey, one that will take us through the complex world of currency, its birth, its power, and its value. We'll be delving into one of the most fascinating cases of our time, the creation of Burkina Faso's own currency. What does it mean to have control over your own value system, to dictate the worth of your own promise? This journey promises to be a thought-provoking exploration into the heart of economies and the power that lies within our wallets. So, fasten your seatbelts as we dive deep into the world of money matters. And while you're here, don't forget to follow and subscribe to our channel for more insightful content. Now let's get started and unravel the power of money. Have you ever wondered who decides the value of the money in your wallet? Money, the lifeblood of our economy, is a fascinating concept when you stop to think about it. It's not just paper and coins or digital numbers on a screen. It's a symbol of a promise, a universally accepted medium of exchange that holds immense power in shaping economies, determining the fate of nations, and impacting our day-to-day lives. Currency, in its very essence, is a tool of representation. It represents the value of goods and services, it represents trust, and it represents power. It's like a language, a universal way of communicating value. But what if you could speak your own language, create your own currency? What would it mean to have control over your own value system, to dictate the worth of your own promise? The implications are vast and complex, and the process intriguing. Imagine having the power to create your own currency. Intriguing, isn't it? So, how does a currency come into existence? Well, the birth of a currency isn't as simple as deciding to create one and then printing out banknotes. It's a complex process that involves both economic and political considerations. Let's start with the initial stages. Imagine a country, let's call it Nation X, that wants to create its own currency. First and foremost, Nation X needs to consider its economic stability. This involves examining the country's production capabilities, its trade balance, and the overall health of its economy. If Nation X's economy is robust and balanced, it can potentially sustain its own currency. Next comes the political considerations. The government of Nation X needs to be stable, with the capacity to manage the country's monetary policy. This includes controlling inflation, managing interest rates, and maintaining the overall value of the currency. But who's going to do all this? That's where a central authority comes in. Nation X must establish a central bank to oversee these economic and political considerations. The central bank is responsible for ensuring the currency's value remains stable, and that it serves its purpose as a medium of exchange, a store of value, and a unit of account. Now, onto the physical aspect of currency. Designing and minting the currency is an exciting stage. This involves deciding what images and symbols to include on the banknotes and coins. These symbols often represent the country's culture, history, or values. It's also crucial to design the currency in a way that makes counterfeiting difficult. Finally, the central bank must ensure that there's enough currency in circulation to facilitate economic transactions, but not so much that it leads to inflation. This is a delicate balance that requires careful monitoring and adjustments. So, you see, creating a currency is a complex process that goes far beyond the printing of banknotes. It's an intricate dance between economic stability, political might, and cultural symbolism. Creating a currency is much more than just printing banknotes. It's a symbol of sovereignty. But how do we decide what a currency is worth? This is the million-dollar question, isn't it? Or should we say the million-franc question in the case of Burkina Faso? The value of a currency isn't pulled out of thin air. It's a complex calculation influenced by a myriad of factors, each playing its own tune in the grand symphony of economics. Let's start with the gross domestic product, or GDP. Think of GDP as the heartbeat of a country's economy. It's the total value of all goods and services produced over a specific time period. If the GDP is strong and consistent, it suggests a healthy economy, and this can bolster the value of a currency. Then we have inflation. Inflation is like the speed at which the economy's heart is beating. If it's beating too fast, that is, if prices are rising too quickly, then the currency can lose value. This is because each unit of currency buys less than it did before. Interest rates also play a critical role. High interest rates can attract foreign investors, as they can get a better return on their investments. This can increase demand for the currency, and therefore increase its value. Finally, we can't forget the foreign exchange market. This is the global marketplace where currencies are bought and sold. The forces of supply and demand in this market can cause the value of a currency to fluctuate. So you see, the value of a currency isn't determined by a single factor, but a complex interplay of economic indicators. It's like a mirror reflecting the health and performance of an economy on a global stage. In the context of Burkina Faso, these factors would play a significant role in determining the value of its own currency, should it choose to create one. The value of a currency is a reflection of a nation's economic health and global standing. So in a way, a nation's currency is its economic identity, its signature on the global economic stage. Let's take a real-world example, Burkina Faso. Nestled in the heart of West Africa, Burkina Faso has a vibrant history, rich in culture and tradition. But let's focus on its economic journey, specifically its currency. For 6 decades, Burkina Faso, like many other African nations, used the CFA franc, a currency tied to the French franc and later the euro. This arrangement provided stability, but it also came with limitations. Burkina Faso's monetary policy was largely dictated by external entities, leaving the nation with little control over its own economic destiny. In the early 2020s, Burkina Faso decided to break away from the CFA franc and create its own currency. This decision was driven by several factors. First, there was a growing desire for economic independence and sovereignty. The country wanted to control its monetary policy and economic future. Second, the CFA franc was seen as a relic of colonialism, and there was a strong push to shed this legacy. The process of creating a new currency is complex and multifaceted. It involves not only designing and printing new banknotes, but also setting up robust monetary policies, establishing a central bank, and managing the transition from the old currency. Burkina Faso had to navigate these challenges with care and diligence. They began by establishing the Central Bank of West African States, an institution tasked with managing the new currency. They then designed and printed the new banknotes, while simultaneously phasing out the CFA franc. To determine the value of the new currency, they considered the country's economic indicators, like GDP and inflation rate, and compared them with those of other countries. This transition was not without challenges. It required careful planning, strong political will, and the buy-in of the Burkinabe people. But it also offered Burkina Faso a chance to assert its economic independence and shape its own destiny. The creation of a new currency can be a pivotal moment in a nation's history, and for Burkina Faso, it was a bold step towards economic sovereignty and a brighter future. Creating a new currency isn't without its challenges. There's no sugarcoating it. Introducing a new form of money into an economy is a mammoth task, a high-stakes chess game with a multitude of pieces in play. It's not just about printing a new set of banknotes or minting shiny coins. It's about constructing a robust financial infrastructure, ensuring stability, combating counterfeiting, and most importantly, gaining public trust. Let's break it down. Stability is paramount. A currency that fluctuates wildly in value can wreak havoc on an economy, leading to price instability and economic uncertainty. It's like trying to build a house on shifting sands. The foundation needs to be solid, and that comes from a well-managed monetary policy and a stable economy. Then there's the issue of counterfeiting. A new currency is like a newborn baby, vulnerable and in need of protection. Without robust anti-counterfeiting measures, a currency can quickly lose its value and the public's trust. Speaking of trust, it's the cornerstone of any currency. Money, after all, is a social construct. Its value comes from the collective belief and trust in its worth. This trust isn't earned overnight. It takes time, transparency, and a track record of stability. The public needs to feel confident that the new currency will hold its value, that it's not just a passing fad or a risky experiment. However, it's not all doom and gloom. With great challenges come great opportunities. Creating a new currency gives a country greater control over its monetary policy. It can set its interest rates, manage its inflation, and steer its economic course. It's like taking the wheel of your own car after years of being a passenger. It's empowering, it's liberating. Moreover, it can foster a sense of national identity and pride. A currency is, in a way, a country's calling card to the world. It tells a story about its history, culture, and values. It's a tangible symbol of sovereignty and independence. While challenges abound, the creation of a new currency can open up a world of opportunities. Let's sum up what we've learned today. We kicked off with understanding the sheer power of money, the lifeblood of our economies. We then took a deep dive into the birth of currency, an intricate process that's as much about trust as it is about tangible assets. This led us to the delicate act of determining a currency's value, a balancing act between supply and demand, intrinsic worth, and international markets. Our journey took us to Burkina Faso, a nation carving out its own monetary path. We explored its unique challenges and opportunities, from establishing credibility to navigating global economic waters. We discovered how creating a currency is not just about printing money. It's about building an economic identity, fostering national pride, and providing a medium for trade that reflects the country's unique circumstances and aspirations. Creating a currency is a complex process, but it's also a fascinating glimpse into the heart of a nation's economy.